At the end of the day, Miu didn't want Xing Qianyu to mess up right after taking charge, so she had to keep it under wraps for now. Xing Qianyu's heart was flooded with mixed emotions. He looked into his mother's eyes, his lips trembling slightly, nothing like his usual proud and rebellious self. Xiaoyu left the office in a daze. His body felt like it had a gaping hole in it. Any gust of wind could tear his insides to shreds. When he got home, he looked up and saw the ugly cup sitting on the cabinet. That cup, he'd planned to take it to America for Su Zhong. He'd been planning to show off this cup in front of Su Zhong and Li Lixi, rubbing it in their faces. But that probably wasn't going to happen now. Xiaoyu pulled out his phone without thinking, and his finger accidentally tapped on Su Zhong's number. He didn't know why he did it. Probably because he really wanted to hear Su Zhong's voice. While the call connected, and he asked Su Zhong, "I'm having some work issues. Do you think I should come to America?" Su Zhong's answer was typically brief. He said no, finish the work first. His mother's words flashed through Xiaoyu's mind again. Yeah, any normal person would say that. Only an idiot would drop everything and fly to America. Xiaoyu gave a self-mocking smile, didn't say anything. Usually when they talked on the phone, Xiaoyu would ramble on endlessly, because he knew if he didn't talk, Su Zhong wouldn't either. Then the two of them would just sit there in silence, listening to the phone's white noise. But this way of communicating exhausted Xiaoyu. Xiaoyu picked up the ugly cup without thinking, and suddenly asked Su Zhong, "Why didn't you take the ugly cup to America?" Su Zhong said the cup had cracked. Xiaoyu was a bit surprised. Looking closer, the rough ceramic cup did have a few fine cracks. Who knew that as he turned the cup to examine it, his hand slipped, and the cup crashed to the floor, shattering, like all those beautiful memories had shattered too. The ceramic shattered on the marble floor, with an incredibly loud sound, making Xiaoyu's heart shake. But Su Zhong didn't hear what happened because of the music around him. Through the phone, Xiaoyu could hear drums and noise on Su Zhong's end, loud and chaotic. Occasionally a girl's giggle would ring out. Probably that Li Lixi. But oddly enough, Xiaoyu didn't seem to care that much anymore. He told Su Zhong it was nothing, then hung up. Watching the phone screen go dark, Xiaoyu suddenly realized this was the first time he'd hung up on Su Zhong. Every other time Xiaoyu would wait for Su Zhong to hang up first, then listen to the dial tone before reluctantly putting down his phone. Xiaoyu got ripped apart at the board meeting over this, even though he apologized and promised it wouldn't happen again. The old man and the other board members still wouldn't let it go. He thought this whistleblower incident was the work of Xin Ximu, his fellow heir. Turns out she not only spoke up for him in the meeting, but after hearing his boyfriend was in America, she gave Xiaoyu a project she'd almost closed overseas, so he could be with his boyfriend and still get results. But Ximu wouldn't let him go when she found out, because what heir volunteers to hand you projects on a silver platter? But Xiaoyu insisted on going, because Su Zhong was in America. Sure enough, when they got to America, this project that had been going smoothly, the contact person suddenly refused to meet with them. When he called Xin Ximu to update her on the project, Xin Ximu told him to just enjoy time with his boyfriend. She'd come over and fix things. That's when Xiaoyu realized she'd set him up. She knew all along it would fall apart. So she waited for him to hit a wall and come begging. Then she'd swoop in like a hero and save the day. Strike while the iron is hot. Second time it cools, third time it's done. He'd barely gotten back to headquarters and already hit setback after setback, getting beat down, unable to get up. From now on, she'd have her foot on his neck. Xiaoyu calmed down and turned down Xin Ximu's offer. He said he'd handle it himself. No need to trouble her. Xin Ximu's challenge got Xiaoyu interested. Even if Xin Ximu was a tiger, so what? Xing Qianyu was going to snatch food from the tiger's mouth. Xiaoyu was definitely greener than Xin Ximu and didn't have her control over the company. But Xiaoyu had his own advantages. He had two aces up his sleeve. The company gossip Zhupu and the veteran gossip Xingmu. These two weren't great at business, but they were strong socially. They could dig up all kinds of intel. Even better, though these two talked trash about Xiaoyu all the time, deep down they were incredibly loyal to Xiaoyu. He'd barely posted in the group chat, and Xingmu called. Xingmu just told Xiaoyu Xin Ximu was tight with Rebecca, the office manager at AA. When Xiaoyu heard that, a theory immediately popped into his head. Did Xin Ximu bribe Rebecca? Xingmu was pleased with Xiaoyu's quick thinking, nodded silently, said very likely. But that girl Xin Ximu was sneaky, even she couldn't catch her red-handed. Xiaoyu thought for a moment, then had an idea. Xiaoyu met up with his old classmate Xiao for coffee, asked him some things involving client privacy. Turns out Rebecca, that manager at AA, was a client at the bank where Xiao worked. Xiaoyu knew Xin Ximu would be hard to nail down, so he decided to investigate from Rebecca's end. Xiao couldn't reveal too much to Xiaoyu, could only tell him Rebecca took out a mortgage 3 months ago for an apartment in Manhattan. But given her finances, buying this property should have been a stretch for her. Xiao figured the down payment wasn't hers. Someone else paid it for her. This might be related to the commercial bribery Xiaoyu mentioned. Just as Xiaoyu was thinking this through, he heard someone call his name from behind. Xiaoyu's body trembled slightly, like warm water was seeping into his heart. No mistaking that voice. It was Su Zhong. Xiaoyu had been stopping himself from contacting Su Zhong late, so he hadn't heard Su Zhong's voice in a long time. Hearing that familiar voice suddenly in the air, Xiaoyu's heart came alive, beating excitedly. He realized he was still desperately in love with Su Zhong, no matter what stood between them. The romance chemical suddenly reactivated in Xiaoyu's brain. Xiaoyu's first thought was, do I look good? He hadn't slept well lately. His face must look terrible. Should have put on a face mask before going out. Suddenly a not-so-friendly voice said, so this is Su Zhong's Chinese boyfriend. Can't believe he followed him all the way to America. He didn't tell us, kept us in the dark. Xiaoyu looked toward the voice. Two people stood next to Su Zhong. One was a white guy with brown hair. The other a Chinese woman with burgundy hair. Xiaoyu recognized this woman. She was Li Lisi. The American guy was Su Zhong's assistant Thomas. Xiaoyu hadn't been thinking much about Su Zhong's situation, forcing himself to focus on work. But when Li Lisi started stirring the pot right in front of him, it was hard for Xiaoyu not to clench his fists. Su Zhong said blankly, I didn't know he was coming. Oja. Su Zhong stared at Xiaoyu, his gaze blank and steady, like a kid staring at toys in a shop window. Whenever Su Zhong looked at him like that, Xiaoyu felt like his body was soaking in a hot spring, all warm. Su Zhong's gaze gave Xiaoyu the illusion of being loved. It was too addictive. Xiaoyu looked away slightly, to keep from getting sucked in. Li Si caught his movement. Xiaoyu noticed Li Si's look too. Even if things with Su Zhong were messed up, he didn't want outsiders laughing at them. So he smiled, walked over and pushed past Li Si, and hooked his arm around Su Zhong's, saying with a smile, surprise. Su Zhong still said blankly, surprise. Li Si got pushed aside, but kept that awkward yet polite smile on her face. Xiaoyu and Su Zhong introduced the people with them, and everyone exchanged business cards. Xiao was shocked after getting Su Zhong's card. He looked at Su Zhong with admiration, and said, making partners so young is really impressive. Xiao also whispered to Xiaoyu, dude, you're killing it. Landing such an amazing boyfriend. In the past, Xiaoyu would have felt pretty proud. But now it just made Xiaoyu feel sensitively fragile. Then Li Si suggested everyone grab drinks together. Xiaoyu looked at Su Zhong. Even though he really wanted to spend more time with Su Zhong, he still declined. Just said he had things to do, maybe next time. Then Xiaoyu and Xiao left the coffee shop together. On the way back, Xiao asked Xiaoyu, your boyfriend's so impressive. Why are you going through me for help? Xiaoyu was confused. What's the connection? Xiao said, your boyfriend's company has connections to 99% of America's rich people. Through Xiao and other channels, Xiaoyu got a lot of information about Rebecca. Even got his hands on her credit card statements. Rebecca's statements really surprised Xiaoyu. Rebecca's income wasn't low, but her spending was. She was probably really cheap. What didn't match her low spending was her Manhattan apartment. Xiaoyu and Zhu came to Rebecca's apartment, looking around. This wasn't the Upper East Side, but it was still prime real estate. They knocked on the door. Rebecca was shocked to see Xiaoyu and Zhu at her apartment door. In a thick New York accent, asked them what they were doing there. Xiaoyu didn't waste time, got right to the point. One accusation and Rebecca got nervous. But she still wouldn't admit it. She figured Xiaoyu had no proof, so she denied it. But Xiaoyu found out Rebecca's place had 50 walls worth of furniture, and she hired a housekeeper every month. Xiaoyu thought it was weird. He checked Rebecca's statements. Her spending was low, but she lived pretty well, so something was definitely up. Sure enough, Xiaoyu quickly found the problem. Turns out her fancy furniture was bought with AA's corporate funds, and her housekeeper was actually the company's cleaning lady. Rebecca threatened her job, forcing her to clean for free. Sure enough, when Xiaoyu laid it out, Rebecca went pale. She invited Xiaoyu and Zhu inside, very gracious, and promised she'd go back tomorrow and move the contract forward. Hearing that, Xiaoyu's heart finally settled. After Xiaoyu wrapped things up, Su Zhang called. He just asked Xiaoyu if he had time for a dinner party. Xiaoyu couldn't help but think Su Zhong's way of talking was as overly direct and overly simple as always. Xiaoyu asked him what kind of dinner party. Su Zhong said it was a company business dinner. Usually people brought their partners. Xiaoyu said with a smile, so I count as your partner. Xiaoyu thought of something and asked, if I weren't in America, who would you bring? Su Zhong said, if you're not here, I go alone. Xiaoyu froze, asked, what did